As you can see linked up on Mark13News.com for July 15th, 2024, the declining influence of the United Nations, followed by BRICS, promises a new multipolar order, and finally Iran, which is Persia in Ezekiel 38, plans more extensive cooperation with China as the Ezekiel 38 Confederacy continues to formulate, headed by Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, meaning most likely Moscow and Tobolsk. And as you can see pointed out in the Daniel 11 hypothesis on biblicalresearchlabs.com, the Russian Federation is the current king of the north, but also the hidden agents of Edom are at this time strategically placed within the Western media outlets and political parties to try and talk multipolar globalism into existence as opposed to a perpetuation of unipolar globalism. Nation shall rise against nation, meaning the Kenite nation rising up against itself through two warring factions within the he-goat of Daniel chapter 8, which is symbolic of the shadow government of the sons of Cain, the multipolarist Kenites through Edom, which means red, and the unipolarist Kenites through Ammon and Moab, which are symbolic of the left-right paradigm, which is really Stalinism and Trotskyism. The hidden dynasty of politics having been globalized in 1945 when the United Nations came into being, which is the great horn of the he-goat that has to get broken before the one world political system written of in Revelation 13 can emerge, having 7 heads, which are symbolic of the 7 continents of the planet Earth, and 10 horns, which are symbolic of 10 fallen angel kings that will be cast to earth with Satan and most of the rest of his angels at the woe of the 5th trumpet, which is when the he-goat of Daniel chapter 8 becomes the leopard of Daniel chapter 7, symbolic of the Kenites and their 4 hidden dynasties, providing the infrastructure of the so-called New World Order. It's also at the woe of the 5th trumpet that the Ezekiel 38 Confederacy becomes the bear of Daniel chapter 7, with the lion being symbolic of the Christian nations up until just after the one world political system gets wounded to death, because that's when Satan will appear as the Antichrist at the woe of the 6th trumpet, when those 4 angels get loose from the great river Euphrates, as you can see in Revelation chapter 9, which is when most Christians will be killed spiritually when they're deceived into worshiping Satan instead of Christ, which is what Antichrist means. The true Christ won't return at all until 2.5 months later at the woe of the 7th trumpet, immediately after the 70 evenings that the 70 years in captivity to the Babylon of old were a type of.